Hi there, everyone. How are you today? It's Bryan, Barron, the Director of Skincare Research with Paula's Choice Skincare, here with our first live chat of December. I last did a live chat in late October when I was in our Seattle office with the content and education team and members of our wholesale team. We have a fantastic wholesale team, you guys, that are... They work all over the United States. Wholesale programs are steadily being built out in other countries where Paula's Choice is sold. But given the United States is where we are based, this is where everything is kind of birthed, if you will. And I just really wanted to take a moment to give a shout out to that team because they are among the most passionate ambassadors for our brand next to you guys. And it's so amazing to have them out there in the field, meeting people, talking to them about Paula's Choice, talking to them and empathizing with them about skincare struggles, the problem with misinformation when it comes to how to take the best care of your skin, how to avoid disappointment. You know, they're in and out of our retail stores, including Sephora, and they're just a remarkable team with an equally remarkable leadership behind them that really works to make sure that, and I'm a minor spoke in the wheel on the education side, in my estimation, because I feed that information into our education team, but they're the ones that need to decide how to present it in a manner that our wholesale team will enjoy, that they'll retain, that they'll learn from, and that they will enjoy sharing with customers that they encounter out in the field. And again, they're dealing with people in real time, in real life, and my hat is off to them. It's amazing work that they're out there doing and spreading the message about Paula's Choice. So November got away from all of us. The schedules did not align. I was hoping we could at least do one live chat last month. It didn't happen, but we have this one today, December 7th. And then we'll do another one a week from today on the 14th because I have some year-end time off scheduled. That would mean if we waited 2 more weeks, it wouldn't work. And we really wanted to bring you 2 live chats this month. I think the next one is going to be an Ask Me Anything. So start thinking of your questions, whatever's on your mind. I'm an open book. Let me know. So now that we have that business taken care of, today's topic is going to be how to winterize your skin. For the members in our audience, particularly those in Canada, the United States, and Northern European countries, the UK, of course, Korea, Taiwan, that experience the winter season as characterized by colder temperatures, drier indoor air, drier outdoor air. For many of us, those changes can really do a number on our skin. Some of us don't notice any sort of a difference. If and if that's you, you're welcome to hang. But this show is really is kind of a troubleshooting show on what to do. I'll tell you some of the topics we are going to go over. Because I always consult our social media manager just to make sure that what's being chatted about is addressed at the live chat. So for just as an example, if you have oily skin, do you need to do anything for the winter months, or can you just kind of coast along and not change your routine? What are some easy add-ons to your skincare routine to help you deal with dry, itchy skin associated with colder temperatures? That can be a bit tricky, and I totally understand not wanting to invest a lot of money in that, because for most of us, who deal with this issue, it's a seasonal concern. Temperatures start rising again, the humidity starts going up again, we start seeing springing to life. Our skin kind of reacts in a more positive manner than it has for the last few months. We'll be talking about some easy swaps that you can do. Maybe a couple of products in your routine need to be changed up. I'm a much bigger advocate for that approach than completely scrapping what you were doing unless it was hurting your skin. But let's assume that you're using well-formulated products. I'm not a big fan of just totally scrapping that just because of a seasonal change and having to start all over again. Most of us will do great with just 1 or 2 easy swaps to get us through that rough 3-4 months. And then I also am going to be talking about some topics in regards to dealing with more intense dry skin. I'll be sharing some of my personal favorite products. I live in the Midwest. We absolutely, of the United States, we absolutely get a classic northern cold winter. We get lake effect snow, often temperatures below freezing, wind chills below freezing. We've had our heater going here in the home for the last probably 6-7 weeks. I am prone to cracks at the side of my mouth during the cold winter months that I have to take extra steps to try to prevent and kind of stay ahead of that problem, because if I'm not vigilant, those issues come back, as do I get fingertip and sides of my fingers where my skin actually cracks and splits. And again, I've had a couple already this season. We're not even officially in winter yet, but because the humidity is lower and the temperatures are colder, and we're washing our hands, I have gotten much better about keeping my hands moisturized. In fact, I'm going to talk about some Paula's Choice products, of course, but one of my favorite products as I guess a makeshift hand cream, if you will, is this Skin Relief Moisturizing Lotion by Aveeno. And one of the things I really like about this, it's a very basic formula. It has dimethicone as its active ingredient, 1.2%, in a water base with glycerin, petrolatum, isopropyl palmitate, some oat kernel flour. The ingredients are basic. However, ingredients like dimethicone, glycerin, and petrolatum in high enough levels can really help trap that water in skin, and what I like, and prevent that water loss, keep skin supple and smooth. The main reason I continue to go back to that product is that it absorbs quickly and it doesn't leave my fingertips feeling slick or greasy, so I can get back to typing, which I do a lot of, doing writing and research and searching online and all that fun stuff. So I need something that is going to maintain and still let me get back to doing what I need to do during the day without having to sit around and wait for my moisturizer to not feel so slick anymore. I also don't want to under apply it, because if you don't apply enough, you're not really going to fully address the problem. So I'll be talking about some additional products as well that I have here off camera. I'm going to be talking about some of the research that I looked into over the past couple of days about seasonal variations in skin having to do with colder temperatures and fluctuating humidity. It's a bit fascinating. I actually grabbed some sections from several studies that I wanted to just read. I'll try to make it entertaining, I promise. But what was surprising is the inclusivity about some of the aspects that we tend to associate as just being automatically due to climate and how our skin responds to the climate we're in. However, before we get really off and running with the how to winterize your dry skin, or how to get your skin ready for winter, the idea really is to try to avoid the dryness as much as you can. I wanted to announce a brand new product that hit our website today. Good timing. It is our clinical phytoestrogen elasticity renewal body treatment. So this is the body counterpart to our clinical phytoestrogen elasticity renewal serum, which launched earlier this year. I am thrilled that the face serum has received such a positive response from people that have tried it. You're seeing exactly the results that we were very optimistic would be possible from using this product. A lot of research and formulary know-how and what I like to call successful failures went into the formulating process for both this and the body treatment. As a little backstory, the body treatment, which also contains the soy-derived phytoestrogens that the face serum does, the equal, the genistein, the daidzein, and then the soybean seed extract, which gives you a further mix. This was supposed to be our original phytoestrogen launch, and then the face serum was going to come a bit later on. But due to some supply chain issues and ingredient shortages, we decided to go with the face serum. Ended up being ready first, so we launched that because we knew we would have several months delay for the body treatment, and we were so excited about these formulas. We wanted to at least get one out because there was some talk for a while of, well, let's see if we can launch them both at the same time. And then we are giving people who are dealing with signs of estrogen deficient skin, that crepey texture, that loss of density or that firmer feeling, the inability of skin to hold on to moisture. Skin has just become more thin feeling, more fragile. Those are all changes that uniquely coincide with what happens traditionally during menopause in the years leading up to it, when the levels of estrogen in the body decrease. And the beauty of phytoestrogens is that they can help visibly restore a lot of what that estrogen deficiency causes in terms of making skin look and feel even older. What I've heard over the years, speaking with women in their menopausal years, is it's interesting how consistent this description has been, despite the fact that I've spoken with women all over the world. Is they say, I feel like my skin aged 10 years overnight, and that decline. I mean, from a literal sense, no, that didn't happen. But it can seem that way because that estrogen decline can be fairly precipitous. You're going for several years post-puberty with your estrogen levels within the normal range. They peak, I believe, in the early 30s. And then as you begin menopause, the average age of menopause is 51. Obviously being the average age. Some people will experience it sooner, some people will experience it later. Depending on various surgical procedures you may have, menopause could be induced even earlier. But on average, age 51 is when it starts. And typically by, if let's say you're right, average, you're starting at 51, you will start seeing those signs of estrogen deficient skin within the first 5 years of menopause beginning. So it is incredibly exciting to know that these plant-derived phytoestrogens, which are all potent antioxidants, can step in and really help to visibly reverse some of the changes that coincide with that factor. The body treatment is meant for use, well, you can use it anywhere from the chest down, but where you're most likely to see those texture changes, that crepiness, that skin that just looks and feels less dense, is going to be on your décolleté region, the chest, the tops of the hands, and the forearms. So that is where we urge you to use this product at least once a day. It has, I'll dispense some here, it has a lightweight cream texture. As you can see, it's not like running down the top of my hand, but when you start blending it in, it spreads beautifully, and then it sets fairly quickly. The phytoestrogens are in a special polysaccharide-based delivery system that not only helps to keep them stable and suspended in the formula, which is what you want, but it also helps ease their penetration into the uppermost layers of your skin where they're going to do the most good. So this is not a moisturizer. If you have dry skin, you're going to want to follow with your regular body lotion, and then of course during the day you'll want to put sunscreen on exposed areas of body skin. One of the other things that coincides with estrogen deficient skin is a reduced ability for skin to protect itself in the face of UV light, with or without sunscreen. And the reason for that is that estrogen actually has some UV protective properties by nature of its strong antioxidant action. So the natural estrogen in your body and in your skin can help defend your skin further from that type of environmental assault. You start losing that, you get that precipitous drop, and what happens is your skin becomes even more vulnerable to that damage from UV light, from blue light, from airborne pollutants. So anything you can do to help shore skin up so it's better able to defend itself is going to result in skin that looks and acts the way it did to the extent possible before the estrogen decline set in. This is for all skin types. It is $68. The other little fun story I wanted to tell you is that this product was developed first. The face serum was developed a bit afterwards. This is the product that we sent to Paula, and at the time she was in Hawaii. She has a home in Hawaii, and I know, lucky, right? She loved the results so much she was kicking herself afterward that she didn't take pictures, because she started using it on the tops of her hands and her forearms. And after about 4 weeks or so, she was seeing a remarkable difference in how her skin looked and felt. That buoyancy, that bounce, and that dense look and feel came back. And she had not been able to achieve that with other products, including retinol products. So in Paula's words, this was a game changer. She gave one of the little samples to a neighbor of hers. The neighbor called her like 2 weeks later and said, "What is in this stuff? It's incredible. How do I get more?" And I think not too long after that, Paula called our lab and said, "Can you rush ship me, some large containers of these prototypes, because I want to keep using this. I don't want to be without it." So it's always really, really gratifying when we are working on a product that is appropriate for someone that's Paula's age, has the skin concerns that Paula does, and her feedback is that positive. So, and she was the one that inspired us to develop both of these phytoestrogen products. And really, much like in the early days when she was writing books and the Don't Go to the Cosmetics Counter Without Me books, the dearth of well-formulated products on the skincare market for somebody struggling with acne, which is such a common issue, was embarrassing. There were so many poorly formulated products. And so as we are going into this somewhat newer category of what's referred to as menopausal skincare, or at the very skincare options to help deal with what happens to skin during menopause. We surveyed the market, took a look at what was out there, who's doing it well, who's not doing it well, and it was incredibly disappointing because so many brands were not doing it well. They were not giving people going through menopause really anything unique or distinctive that would help. You were pretty much just getting a creamier moisturizer, big whoop, or you were getting a spray with menthol and mint or something of that nature in it to help soothe the sensations of having a hot flash. So it was just, to me, it just felt embarrassing. It felt a little bit insulting that the research is there. And a lot of it is newer research, but the research is there to point the way to what can really be effective. And that's what we focused on for the body treatment and for the face serum. So that's enough about that. The product is live on the site right now. It looks like our social media team has already posted a link in the chat. So, back to the topic. And I'm going to step away just for a sec because I forgot to close the door to my office. And so what I don't want to happen is for my son to come home and come in and, start talking to me and not know that I'm live. So sorry about that. So what we know for sure about what happens in the winter when the temperatures drop, the humidity drops, and both of those factors absolutely cause some changes in skin. But the confusion lies in the fact that the research we have to date is inconclusive in terms of changes in hydration, what's referred to as transepidermal water loss. That's kind of all over the place. There are some studies that show that during colder months that are typical of winter in the northern hemisphere of the world, that transepidermal water loss doesn't tend to ebb and flow, or there's not a lot of consistency to it. And then in the southern hemisphere, or during periods of warmer weather and higher humidity, that in some studies have shown that combination, hot weather, more humidity, makes transepidermal water loss, or your skin's ability to keep a balanced amount of water in, as opposed to letting it come to the surface and evaporate, where it's not going to do your skin any good anymore. In the summer months with the higher humidity, some studies have shown that this transepidermal water loss is worse than in the winter months. So what I'm going to read this first section to you, and again, all of this is a quote of a study. This is not just off the top of my head stuff, but I just thought this would be the best way to get the message across. Epidemiological studies indicated an increase in eczema with low internal indoors humidity, and an increase in eczema also with external high humidity. So that's basically saying that if you suffer from eczema, and a lot of people who do find that it absolutely flares up and gets more uncomfortable during dry, cold months, but there are studies, we have documented evidence from real skin, measurements of real skin measurements from people, as opposed to like skin cells in a petri dish, that external high humidity, which is characteristic of summer weather in some parts of the world, can also make eczema worse. Other studies suggest that symptoms of dry skin appear with low humidity internal air-conditioned environments. So that can be another double whammy for eczema during hotter, humid months. When you're outside and exposed to more humidity, your eczema can flare. When you're indoors in an air-conditioned, more comfortable, temperate environment, it can also flare. Murine studies, which refers typically to fish, determined that low humidity caused a number of changes in the skin, including the impairment of the desquamation process. Studies in humans demonstrated a reduction in transepidermal water loss with low humidity, alterations in the water content in the stratum corneum, which is your skin's uppermost layer, what you can see, decreased skin elasticity, and increased roughness. Intervention with a humidifying mist, aka an indoor humidifier, increased the water content of the stratum corneum. Conversely, there is some evidence that low humidity conditions can actually improve the barrier function of the skin. Ambient relative humidity has an impact on a range of parameters involved in skin health, but as I mentioned a moment ago, the literature is inconclusive. So further studies are needed to better delineate the interactions that can occur in normal and diseased states. Diseased state being an eczema state. That's just one of many dry skin diseases. Psoriasis is another one. Further research examining the interaction between different environmental exposures thought to impact skin, and indeed the interplay between genetic, environmental, and immunological influences are required. So that is essentially a long way of saying that seasonal changes in skin are multifactorial. It isn't just cold weather equals dry skin. It can be cold weather plus your genetic predisposition plus various immune factor influences, which can even include your diet to a certain degree, could also be playing a role. So it's not necessarily a straight line or a given for everybody that just because the temperatures drop or the humidity goes down, you're going to have skin problems. However, we know a lot of people do, and that's the results that we're going to get to. Here's another study, results for the effects of climate conditions and seasonal variations on transepidermal water loss values across 11 studies mirror mixed results in the literature prior to 2015. One study showed increased transepidermal water loss during summer months compared to winter, with one additional study showing that this water loss increased in women after they went from indoor air-conditioned environments to outdoor summer weather. However, 2 additional studies then showed increased transepidermal water loss in facial skin during fall and winter months, which is what I think most of us expect, compared to summer months and spring months, with significant decreases in this water loss with the increasing temperature. So then that's the confusing and inclusive part. We have other studies, again, done on people showing that as the temperature went down, the water level or water balance from skin didn't necessarily change. There was some consensus across studies in regard to indoor relative humidity, though, with no significant trend in association with transepidermal water loss across 2 studies. I mean, this is like head-scratching stuff, and I think it just goes to show that what happens to skin during winter can be an individualized response. Here's another example out of a study done on people in Korea. I think this was women only, but I could be mistaken. All 100 subjects rested in a room 20 to 24 degrees Celsius with humidity from 40 to 60%, which is pretty standard, for 30 minutes. A tulumeter, TM300, which is a device used to measure water capacitance and loss from skin, was then used to make measurements on the forehead, cheek, and forearm, once in June to reflect summer values and once in January to reflect winter months. The average temperature and humidity in June were 24.9 degrees Celsius and 74% humidity, respectively. Average temperatures and humidity in January in Korea were negative 2.4 Celsius. Remember, we use the Fahrenheit system in the U.S. We're the global outliers for some reason, so you'll have to do some fast math there. And then the humidity in January in Korea was 59.7% respectively. Results showed significantly higher water loss values on the forehead during the summer compared to the winter. This is forehead. And although summer averages for transepidermal water loss were higher at other sites, no significant difference was observed at the cheek or forearm. So that's the transepidermal water loss part. Not only variances in the research on when it happens and why it happens, but now we also have conflicting research on where it happens. And why is that? Why is it not so bad on the forehead, but it's worse on the forearm, and so on and so forth. A literature search done in 2016 concluded that low humidity and low temperatures lead to general decrease, and this is the key part that I think everybody struggles with to some degree or another when it gets cold, is a decrease in skin barrier function and then an increased susceptibility toward mechanical stress. So what that means is that as that barrier function becomes perturbed due to external climate issues, skin is more prone to becoming damaged or showing signs of irritation through normal wear and tear, what they refer to as mechanical stress. This situation was also shown to stir up pro-inflammatory cytokines and cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Those cytokines and cortisol are released by the keratinocytes, which are the living skin cells, and then the number of dermal mast cells increases. Mast cells are part of our skin's immune response, and there is a balanced amount of them in our skin as part of the immune system, protecting our skin as they are designed to do. But when those mast cells over-proliferate, that is exactly what occurs when an allergic reaction happens, whether it's a nasal allergy such as from pet dander, or a topical allergy such as from an essential oil, an overly fragrance type product, or something else that you're allergic to in a cosmetic product. Those mast cells kind of proliferate, go crazy. They can result in everything from hives to itching to cracked skin, oozing skin, redness, all of that, or only one. It just kind of depends on how sensitive your mast cells are in response to the stimuli. But so the number of dermal mast cells increases, and then the skin also becomes more reactive toward irritants and allergens. Collectively, the published data show that cold and dry weather increase the prevalence and risk of flares in patients with atopic dermatitis. Atopic dermatitis is kind of an umbrella term for the various types of eczema that people experience, or just your everyday dry, itchy skin that is not necessarily because you don't have enough oil in your skin, but it could be from numerous other reasons that are externally triggered. Lastly, this is from one more piece of research that I just thought was interesting to mention. We investigated the seasonal influence on the functional parameters of the skin in healthy female volunteers of different age groups. I believe this one was out of Japan. Biophysical non-invasive measurements, including transepidermal water loss as a parameter for the barrier function of the stratum corneum, high-frequency conductance as a parameter for the hydration state of the stratum corneum. So in other words, how well, based on this device, what is the water content of the skin? Because water is a conductor of energy, which is why you never want to be like in a pool or a lake or a river during a lightning storm. Where did I leave off? Okay. Temperature, color, and casual surface lipid levels were conducted during the later summer and winter months in 39 healthy adult, Japanese females, it was Japan, ranging in age from 24 to 78 years old. The measurements were made on the cheek, the exposed area, which I'm assuming is just other areas of skin that were exposed, such as the neck, the flexor forearm, and the semi-covered area in the same climate-controlled chamber. The barrier function of the stratum corneum was found to be significantly impaired in winter, both on the cheek and flexor forearm. The difference between summer and winter was much larger on the cheek than on the forearm. That makes sense given the fact that the forearm isn't always exposed to the world the way the facial skin of the cheek is. This difference, flexor forearm. Okay, the differences between summer and winter months was much larger on the cheek than the forearm. The hydration state of the stratum corneum was significantly lower in winter, whereas no such seasonal change was apparent on the cheek, where sebum levels did not show any seasonal change. That is something that I did find to be consistent. If you have oily skin, chances are very good that the amount of sebum that your skin is producing is going to help offset any potential negative effect that dry, cold air or temperatures could have in terms of hydration and to some extent barrier function. However, that doesn't mean that you may not experience bouts of dry, flaky patches. And I'll talk later about what to do in terms of a lighter weight, non-balmy, creamy approach to addressing that issue, because I completely get the concern of not wanting to tempt breakouts if you have oily skin and you're also prone to clogged pores and acne. Okay, so the skin surface temperature and redness were also significantly higher on the cheek in winter. Interesting. We think that subclinical inflammation resulted in the enhanced turnover rate of the stratum corneum associated with elevated transepidermal water levels observed on the face in winter. In conclusion, the attained data suggest that exposed facial skin becomes more irritable under the influence of the dry and cold environment of winter, even in healthy individuals. So, fascinating, huh? When you're dealing with oily skin and you're dealing with minor patches or issues of seasonal redness or dryness, one of the best things I think you can do is switch up your toner, or if you're not currently using a toner, consider adding one to your routine. And a couple of examples from Paula's Choice would be the Resist Advanced Replenishing Toner for normal to dry skin. This is my go-to toner. I've used this for years now. It is incredibly soothing. It has never made me break out. It has a really lovely milky texture. It's packed with antioxidants and barrier replenishing and protective ingredients. So I love it for that, and it doesn't feel oily. So I use it all over my face. If you have oily skin and you're dealing with winter-related dry patches, you could pour a bit out onto a cotton baller pad or our bamboo rounds, which you can reuse, and just dab it on that affected area and then let it sink in. Follow with your leave-on exfoliant if you use that, your SPF product during the day. If you're using it at night, you can follow with your nighttime routine. If you're exfoliating at night, your nighttime booster and or serum and moisturizer. If you are also struggling with sensitive or reddened skin as a result of that, the Calm Nourishing Milky Toner would be fantastic. It has a similar consistency to the Resist Advanced Replenishing Toner, but it has a different finish, more of a humectant-y, hydrating finish on skin than the Resist, partly because the Calm Toner contains the marshmallow root extract. And the marshmallow root has gelatinous-like compounds in it that are incredibly soothing, but they also form a flexible film, a hydrating film on skin. And what that does is not only help keep that soothing action going, but it also helps skin be in a better position to defend itself from external irritants. That's why if you're dealing with more sensitized or reddened skin as a result of the dry winter weather, the Calm Toner would be the better option. The earth-sourced, purely natural refreshing toner would be another option. If you prefer that your products contain predominantly natural ingredients, that would be another way to go. What to do if you have drier skin? Do you need, like let's say your skin is, you describe it most of the year as being slightly dry to kind of dry, maybe it's more dry through here and not quite so dry through here, but still it's not oily. And you're using a creamier moisturizer, maybe it's a gel cream depending on your preferences, and you really like it, but you've noticed that it is not as hydrating or as comforting as it used to be. Rather than start the search anew for a moisturizer, you could add a product like the Moisture Renewal Oil Booster to that existing moisturizer. And you would literally just you dispense your moisturizer into the palm of your hand, take however many drops of this you want, and mix it in. Or if you're in more of a slugging mode, which is kind of like that sealing of the skin before you go to bed with something really rich, you could put this on after the moisturizer, use maybe 10 to 12 drops, and you may need to space that out. This is a fluid oil. I'm just trying to avoid having you make a mess and get mad at me. But I love this product during the winter months. This is exactly what I add to my regular facial moisturizer and use in the areas where my skin has become drier and more sensitive, including here on the neck. Think about how thin the skin is in this area, and it's exposed pretty much almost as much as your facial skin is. It needs that extra moisture, that extra nourishing as well. The Moisture Renewal Oil Booster is jojoba oil based, and that particular oil is very bioidentical to our skin's own oil. That is why we let off with jojoba oil. It also has a really nice, elegant feel. It's not super greasy. You're also getting some safflower oil, evening primrose oil. What is the other big oil in that one? Oh, and the argan oil, yes. And then a couple of ceramides as well. Great way to take your moisturizer that you love most of the year and make it suitable for use during the dry winter months. Another option, particularly at night, and particularly if you don't mind layering more products, is that at the end of your normal nighttime skincare routine, you would apply a thick layer of the Radiance Renewal Mask, which has more of a lightweight but substantive and highly hydrating gel texture. But then you'd want to use a product like the Moisture Renewal Oil Booster either afterwards or mixed in with the mask to really help seal in that moisture. The Radiance Renewal Moisture Mask has a higher load of humectants. It's got the niacinamide to help with ceramide synthesis and improving skin tone and help to smooth rough texture. But if you are in a really dry environment, the Radiance Renewal Mask could potentially backfire in terms of giving you full benefits if the air around you is too dry. One way to get around that is to use a humidifier, but I like mixing the mask in with the oil booster on nights when my skin is feeling particularly dry, and I just do that at the end of my routine. If you have oily skin, I think you'd be fine applying this on its own as an extra hydrating step at night. Another option, this is my personal tube. As you can see, it's almost gone. I need to order more of the Resist Anti-Aging Eye Cream. If you do not normally use an eye cream and the skin around your eyes is looking and feeling drier because of the colder winter weather, this can be a game changer. It is very rich, it's balm-like, it's super gentle, it has a really high amount of shea butter, which is an amazing antioxidant-rich emollient. This stuff is almost like toothpaste. You do not rub it on the area around the skin, you just dab it in and then let it sink in, and it's gonna form a nice finish that will last. The next morning when you get up, you'll still be able to see and feel that you put this eye cream on. It doesn't just go away, making you wonder why you bothered. And it is incredibly moisturizing. It is definitely our most moisturizing eye cream formula. I also use our new C5 Super Boost eye cream morning and night. And what I've started doing, just kind of to preempt any dryness issues around my eyes, although, you know, the C5 is doing a bang up job in the hydrating department. I'm just being a little paranoid. And so I've been taking the anti-aging eye cream and I'll dab a thin amount of that over the C5 eye cream at night. You don't necessarily have to go that far. You can choose one or the other. But if you know ahead of time that you're prone to dryness or tightness around the eyes due to that drop in humidity and temperature, that would be a good product to stock up on. I also love the Ultra Rich Soothing Body Butter. This is a brand new tube of this. It's got the fun safety seal. But this stuff is also toothpaste thick, but then it just melts into skin. This is my go-to hand cream at night. So when I'm downstairs and maybe spending a little bit of time watching TV, getting my Netflix on, I will massage this into my hands, into my nails, around the cuticles, and just give it a good hour or so to sink in. And then I'll put some on again, or if I forgot to do it earlier, I'll definitely put some on before I go to sleep. I literally have a tube of that in my night table drawer so I don't forget, and it sits right next to this staff favorite, the Lip and Body Treatment Balm. Amazing, amazing product. I'm never without at least 2 or 3 of these. And of course, it's amazing for the lip. I slather it on at night, particularly in the corners of my mouth, again, to help prevent those cracks related to the dry weather. Those are not fun. They hurt. They're unsightly. But this is a good time to remind you that you can also use this product anywhere you're having problem dryness. Those finger splits I talked about, applying it directly around the cuticles. You can use it around your toes, elbows, knees. It's a superhero product, and if you haven't tried it yet, it really is. Take a look at the customer reviews. It's really one of our superhero products, and every time we do a staff poll of saying, tell me what your favorite Paula's Choice products are, I mean, what a shock. Most people will say, of course, the 2% BHA liquid. It's what we're most known for, but almost everyone will list this too. It's just, once you try it, you don't want to be without it. A couple other products to mention that I personally like and that are available. The Vaseline a couple years ago came out with this all-over body balm jelly stick. It's essentially a version of Vaseline in stick form, and it has a little roll-up. And I love this product to use on super dry patches. You can use it on your lips if you want to. I don't think it feels quite as elegant on the lips as the Paula's Choice Lip and Body Treatment Balm, but this is awesome for dry heels. Oh my gosh. Put it on right from the stick. You don't even need to touch it, just, because it kind of just glides on. So it's nice because then your fingers don't end up feeling greasy. And let it sit for a few minutes, and then put your stockings or your socks on and go. Vaseline also makes this cracked heel rescue in their clinical care team, or clinical, how do they refer to it? Clinical care, yeah. This is another dimethicone glycerin high load. It takes effort to get it out of the tube. It's quite thick, but this is another option that they market it for the heels. It definitely works for cracked heels. I can personally attest to that. You do have to be consistent with using it, but it also makes a really nice hand cream or a spot treatment for dry, flaky patches. Personally, I would not slather this all over your face unless you're extremely dry. It is fragrance-free. So is the jelly stick. These products are available online. You can get them at Target, Walmart stores. Surprisingly, the last time I looked for the all-over body balm jelly stick on Amazon, they were only selling 3 packs of it, and they were like third-party suppliers, which sometimes to me seems a little sketchy. So I typically buy this at Target. They still have it. I mean, I just checked this afternoon and they said they could deliver it to my house in under 2 hours. I was like, well, that's good to know. So along with using a humidifier ideally in every room in your house, but I get the inconvenience of that because you've got to change the water and keep them clean and all of that. But at the very least, it can be very helpful during the cold, dry winter months to have a humidifier that is large enough to work in the size of your room. Put it in your bedroom. Go to sleep with the humidifier running. It can make a world of difference, not just in your skin's health and appearance, but also in the appearance of your hair. Our hair suffers during this time of year as well. I mean, I'm finding like I've got to use conditioner every time I shampoo. I'm using extra products in my hair to keep it smooth. It's just a lot more maintenance than it is during the summer months when, like here in the Midwest, we get a lot more humidity. And it's just an easier climate I found for skin. So that is kind of the roundup of the products and the tips. Oh, one more tip, particularly if you are prone to, 2 more tips. If you're prone to chronically dry hands during the winter months, and particularly if you are somebody that washes your hands frequently, switch your usual liquid or bar soap to a moisturizing type body wash. Eucerin, CeraVe, Dove, Olay, all of those brands have highly moisturizing, very creamy body washes that you can literally just put into your normal soap decanter or buy a new one that you use during winter months, and put those at all of the sink stations in your house so that you're not having to remember which one has the special soap and which doesn't. And just have the whole family wash their hands with that. It can make a huge, huge difference because most of the liquid hand soaps out there, even the ones that smell good and come in pretty packaging, they are fairly drying. They tend to use the harsher, drier surfactants. They really aren't that moisturizing. They'll often claim they are, but if you have any understanding of how these ingredients work, and they're not using enough of them to compete with what, or balance to the extent possible, what those surfactants are doing. Whereas the creamier body washes tend to have a lot of petrolatum, which is a very good emollient. It's like the gold standard emollient. It's not the best feeling emollient, but that it friggin' works. Or they have a high load of glycerin, or they have much milder surfactants, but they still get the job done of getting your hands clean. So that can be great. And then if you are prone to those splits and cracks on your fingers, 3M makes a liquid sealer. Type 3M is in like the Scotch Tape Company, makes a liquid sealer that you can use, and it comes in a very small bottle. It looks like clear nail polish or a top coat, and you just paint it with the enclosed cap and brush over the wounded area. Give it a little bit of time, roughly 30 seconds to dry, and it forms a watertight seal. What I like about that product is when you have these cracks going on, and again, they can be very painful, they help protect the area from ongoing irritation and damage, because they form, it's a polymer type film, almost like a very strong hairspray with glue-like properties. It does eventually wear off, but what I love about that one from 3M is that it doesn't sting. There is a product called New Skin liquid bandage that essentially does the same thing, but because the New Skin formula contains some antiseptic ingredients as well as a fair amount of alcohol, like the kind of alcohol used in hand sanitizers, it can sting. It can sting quite a bit depending on how much you're using. So I do have that handy as well. I prefer to use that for wounds that I'm more worried about disinfecting. So that's what I got. We've got about roughly 10 minutes left. I'm going to get to as many questions as I can. Will the new body treatment become available in Europe is our first question. The clinical phytoestrogen body treatment. Last I knew, did Paula's Choice answer that? Oh, yeah, it won't be available outside of the U.S. Global regulations for cosmetic ingredients can vary by country, which limits our ability to sell certain products internationally. So I apologize for that. Caitlin says, hi, Brian. Hope you're doing well. As someone who lives in dry Colorado, I've heard that hyaluronic acid can actually dry out my skin more because of my climate. Does HA work better in humidity? It does if we're talking pure hyaluronic acid. But because most products like our hyaluronic acid booster are formulated with other ingredients that help keep the hyaluronic acid from evaporating, it doesn't have to be a concern. So if you're using something though that's just like the ingredients are water, hyaluronic acid, and a slip agent or an emulsifier like polysorbate 20 and a preservative, it's just a very bare bones product, I would be a little nervous about using that type of product in a dry environment. But even then, if you're following with something emollient, something more creamy, putting that type of a product on over a product like that is going to completely prevent that from happening, because the hyaluronic acid is not going to be able to escape past that emollient layer. So it kind of becomes a non-issue. But yes, it is true if we're talking pure hyaluronic acid, that is what can happen in a very dry environment. Old Soul, thank you for having the Black Friday holiday specials available. I took advantage because I love your 1% retinol and liquid exfoliant. I am so glad that you did. Yeah, some of our best sales of the year are during that time. And I hope you saw some of the gift sets that we offer. I think we sold out of our 2% BHA liquid and the really pretty cylinder, the gifting cylindrical box. Anonymous, hi, can I use the anti-redness BHA 2% with the blue retinol antioxidant serum in the morning? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Just be sure, in the case of both of those products, a leave-on exfoliant and a retinol product, that you are also protecting your skin from UV light, that you're following, you're ending your morning skincare routine with a broad spectrum sunscreen, preferably one rated SPF 30 or greater. Jessica says, do you still recommend a hydroxide callus eliminator for feet, or is it better long-term for skin health to use an acid like BHA9 on feet? Something like a sodium or a calcium hydroxide for limited use if your callus is fairly thick, and you just like, I need to whittle this down. And you're following the package directions very carefully, meaning like you're not putting it on and forgetting about it, and then 3 hours later you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta get this off. It really is important, because those things just keep eating away at skin when the pH is that low with that type of an ingredient, and when you're dealing with that really thickened, not too pretty buildup of the dead skin on the feet, for example, that's okay. But you don't, you want to monitor its use so it doesn't get to the healthy skin lying beneath that you want to come forward and look and feel baby smooth. So if you have those thicker calluses that you want to whittle down faster, then I would say use a calcium or sodium hydroxide type callus eliminator product per the package directions. Get that callus to a level where it's still there, but more manageable, and then you segue toward using a product like BHA9 to take care of it further and not tip the scales toward being to the point where it's going to damage your skin. And do nails need to be moisturized in the winter? Yes, absolutely. Does nail polish dry out nails long term? It certainly can. Despite claims I've seen to the contrary, nail polishes are inherently not moisturizing. The ingredients that allow them to go on smoothly, dry quickly, and last at least for a few days without chipping or peeling or deteriorating. They're harsh. They're harsh solvents that, but there's a very limited group of ingredients that chemists have at their disposal to create a nail polish as we know them and as we want them to be. So I think one of the nails, I wouldn't worry about nails drying out as much as the skin around them, because this is hard keratinized protein. And it's not as susceptible to damage as the surrounding skin. Of course, that does not mean that nails can't be damaged, but generally, because when you have nail polish on, a hand cream or a balm isn't capable of penetrating past that layer of polish, the solution is that when you are changing polishes, that you do that paraffin type dip in the salon, or you do those hand masks that you can get, those moisture infusing gloves, or you take a 48 hour break from nail polish and just moisturize the hell out of your nails. And then also make sure that you're doing things to keep your nails healthy and strong. And one of the best things that I have found for that is routine use of a collagen powder or pill supplement. I personally use a powder. And I know I've mentioned this before on the live chats, but it has just been a game-changing product in terms of the health, the strength, and the appearance of my nails, as well as somehow it is definitely impacting their growth rate, which are all signs of nails being healthier, and the healthier and stronger your nails are, the more they can withstand it if you skip moisturizing them, even during the dry winter months. All right, looks like we will go ahead and wrap up. We are just about at time, so thank you all so much for joining. I appreciate the company and your thoughtful questions as usual, and I will be back next week for the second live chat of December and my final YouTube live chat of 2022. Can you believe this year is almost over? I certainly can't. I hope that all of you are starting to get into the festive holiday mood, however you choose to celebrate, and I will talk with you next week. Take care.